creative people, welcome to Programmalist, and in this video tutorial we will learn how to build a NodeMon clone in around 100 lines of code. This video is a part of Build Your Own series in which we will learn how to make a clone of various softwares that we use in day-to-day life and learn a thing or two from it. So in this tutorial we will be developing dnode. So we can run any JavaScript file with dnode using the syntax dnode and then the file name. So which is index.js, which is a very simple Express application. So it should be able to create a new node process and start this application. Now similar to NodeMon, we want to have two basic functionalities. The first one is it should restart the process whenever we change anything in the file. So you see, if I change something in the file, it should automatically restart the process. And the second thing is that user should have the ability to do a manual restart. So if the user types rs, it should automatically detect that it's a manual reload and it should restart the process. So all the source code for the project can be found on my GitHub repo, which I'll link in the description. Also, if you are interested in reading a blog post about it, I'll also link to that in the description as well. So now let's start with setting up our project structure. So for the folder structure, you can see I've created a basic npm project using npm init-y and a git project using git init, and I've created a base empty index.ts file under the src folder. So for this tsconfig.json file, you can run npm typescript -- in it, and it will create a basic tsconfig file for us, which is the config options for our TypeScript compiler. Now we will change some of the values here. So first we will change our target to ES 2015. Next we will set our output directory to /build, which means the TypeScript compiler will output all the transpiled code from TypeScript to JavaScript in this build folder. Next is the root directory. We will set the root directory to the source folder, which means all our files inside the src folders will be used by the TypeScript compiler to compile it. And the next, we will set the module resolution to node because we are using node, and we will also include all the packages under types in the types root, so that types are included in our project as well. Save this file. So the next thing we will do is we will install our dep dependencies. So I'll do npm i-t and I'll include types of node, and I'll also include the TypeScript in our project as dep dependency. So now both the dependencies have been installed. So you can see in the dep dependencies also they have been included. Now we'll add some scripts for our ease. So first we'll add a watch script and we'll set it to tsc-w, and the second we'll add is the build script. So we'll set build and we'll set it to tsc. So what it means is we can run npm run watch and it will watch over any file change in this src folder, and it will output the transpiled code in the build folder. And for the build, we can create a production build for our project. So now we'll save it, and now let's create something. So in the index.ts file, let's create a basic dnode class and export a basic object of it. So we'll say export default new dnode, and we'll save it. And now in the terminal we can run npm run watch, and since we have already created that script, it will run tsc-w, and in some time you'll see a build folder will be created here with all our transpiled code. So you can see that the build folder and the transpiled code is present here in the form of index.js. So now every time we make any change in the index.ts file, we don't have to compile it manually. This tsc-watch will start compiling in the watch mode. So now let's try to print something. So first we'll create a constructor and we'll print two things. First we'll print as the argument vector, which means all the arguments that we have passed to this process, and the second is the current working directory, that is the directory in which this process is running. So whenever we save, our npm run watch is running, so it will automatically recompile it for us. So we can run this using node build/index.js, and we can pass three arguments, arg1, arg2 and arg3. And now this is the output for argument vector, and this is the output for current working directory. You can see the output is the same, which is the current directory which we are in. And in the argument vector, you can see the first is the binary that is executing it, or the interpreter that is executing the file. So you can see it is the node binary. The second is the file that is being executed, which is build/index.js, and the rest are all the arguments that we have passed. But we don't want every time to run dnode using build node build slash index.js. We want something like dnode and then some random file name which we have to run. So now to achieve this, we'll make a few changes to our package.json. So first, inside our package.json, we'll change our main from index to build slash index.js, which is we are changing the entry point of our code. And the next, we'll add a binary, which means that we can run this file, which is build slash index.js, from the command line using the command dnode, which we want. So now still one thing is left, which is we have to specify an interpreter. Since we are running this Java or this TypeScript file, which will be future transpiled into a JavaScript file, so then we have to specify a interpreter which can interpret this file, because normal shell cannot interpret a JavaScript file. So we'll do /user /bin and node, sorry, /env space node. So here we are specifying that using this interpreter, this JavaScript file should be run. Now we can copy this and we can run it in our terminal also to see if we are being redirected to the node or not. So here you can see that we have been redirected to our node. So now I can type .exit and exit it. So now how can I run it through my, so if I normally do dnode right now, it won't run. So first what I'll do is I'll link it to the global node folder, which means that it will create a shortcut or a symlink in the global node folder to this project. So you can see that this is my global node folder, and here a shortcut has been created. So we can say dnode randomfile.js, and you can see we are getting the same output. That is, the first, we are getting the correct interpreter. Second, the file that is being run. So now it is being bin slash dnode, and the third is the argument that we have passed, randomfile.js, and this is the current working directory. So now if you change the directory somewhere else, and if I run here dnode, you can see the current working directory has also changed. So now let's get back to our file, and inside the constructor, first we'll check how many arguments are passed to the dnode binary. So here we can do this by checking the length of the argument vector. So we can say if process dot argument vector dot length is not equals to 3, then what we'll do is we'll throw console.error, that is expected one argument, but we received argument.length -2, because first two are not, that is actually passed, or that is actually useful to us. Else we'll call this dot init function, which we have not created yet. So now we can just create a empty function which is init, and we can create an asynchronous arrow function, and we can just let it be here. Now what we want is whenever we start this file, we know that the last argument, which is process.argument vector of 2, that is the file name that we want to execute, and that should be executed in a new process. So it means that we have to create a new process inside this node process. So that can be done by using the child process module inside the node, which comes inbuilt. So we'll import child process from child process. So in this child process module, there are two ways that we can create a new process. One is spawn and the other one is exec. So spawns uses streams and exec does not use stream. So what is a stream? So to understand this, we can refer to this diagram. So stream is used for streaming data. You can think it as a stream of water, or you can think of it as conveyor belt, and these are small chunks of data. So how is this useful? So stream is, as I've already told, it's used for streaming the data. That means instead of sending the whole data at once, it will send you small chunks of data. So because of this, imagine if you are reading a file. So instead of reading the whole file in the memory, you can read just small chunks into the memory and send it, so that the memory consumption is less. Also, it can also improve the speed of parallel processing, because as and when you receive the first chunk, you can start processing that chunk rather than having to wait for the whole of the data and then processing it all together. So now streams are of different kind. The one is the readable stream, that is which we can only read, we cannot write to it. The second is the writable stream, in which we can only write but we cannot read. And the third is the duplex streams, in which we can read and write. And the fourth is a transform stream, which is a duplex stream but it converts the data. Imagine these are the chunks of data you are getting, and you can create a transform stream which will create a gzip of this and it will output it. So it is a duplex stream but it converts the data. So let's understand the difference between spawn versus exec with an example. As I already told, spawn uses streaming data. So we can see that we have spawned a new process node, and we will be executing this file called late.js, and inside date we'll console.log abc, and after 3 seconds we'll console.log another later, where we will be executing this file, and in standard output we will get the chunks of data. So we will print that chunk, and this chunk will be a buffer, so we have to convert it to a string. So we'll console.log chunk and .to string. If there is some error, it will be print to the standard error stream, so we can listen on it, and there also we'll get chunks of data and we can print that. And the third is we are listening on the close event, so we can know when the child process exited. So now we can run this using node spawn versus exec.js. So you can see that we got a first chunk of data, that is abc, and then after some time when the set timeout finished, we got another chunk, that is later, and finally the child process exited. So this could be helpful considering a case of a CLI, where you have to first see the output or the chunked output, and then based on that you can type in something, and then you can get the next output, and based on that you can change your input again. Now let's see what exec does. So I'll just minimize it. So what exec does is it processes the file fully, and whatever the standard output, standard error that we get, it will just print that. It will not create a streaming data or a chunk data. So here you can see whenever, if I run this code, so let me run this code. So if I run this code, you can see that it will wait for 4 seconds and it will print all the data together, that is abc and later together. So it does not give the output in the real time. It basically waits until the process is exited, and then it will return the data. So this we don't want, because we want a dnode binary to be able to run CLI apps as well, where you have to first see the output, and based on that output you can give the input. So now let's try to code the concept of spawn in our code. So first we'll create a function called start process. So I can create private function called start process, and it will be an arrow function, and I can say const node process equals to child process dot spawn, and we know that we want to spawn using node, and the file name will be in process dot argument vector, and the last one, which is second. And the third thing we'll pass is what standard input output should the child process be using. So for that we'll specify that for the standard input we'll pipe it, for the standard output we'll use it's the parent process's standard output, so process dot standard output. And next, for the standard error we will use the main processes or the parent process standard error, so stderr. So now let's format it. So just to recap, this standard input output means what standard input output will be used by our child process that we are spawning. So the first one is called standard input which pipe, which means this process will have its own standard input and some other stream will be piped into it. The second is the standard output. So we are saying that use the standard output of the main process, that is the dnode process. And the standard error, we are asking to use the standard error of the main process itself. Now why I have created a separate input stream for the child process is that because we also want to listen on the event that is rs, so that whenever user types rs and presses enter, we can manually reload it. So we cannot directly pass that input stream direct to the child process. First we'll listen on it and then we can pipe it, that is we can pass whatever the output of that stream is to this child process. So now let's save it, and with that we also need to create some class variables. So I'll create some class variables. The first one is process exited, which will tell if there is currently any running process or not. So when we are starting the process, when we are starting this dnode process, we want it to be false because there is no currently running processes. The second is we want to hold the reference of this node of the child process that we have created. So we'll create a private and we'll create node process. So currently let it be empty, but we can already see from this like what will be the type of it. So you can directly copy it from this and you can specify the type here. It's just a small trick that can save you a lot of time. And the next, so currently we cannot find where is this internal dot writable. So it's a part of stream package. So we can import writable from, and we can import it from stream, and we can replace that internal dot writable with just internal. And we always know that node process would be something, so we can put an exclamation mark telling TypeScript that yes, it will not be undefined. Now the next process is we can call this inside the init function. So we can do await start process, and from inside of this we can return the node process reference. So we can say return node process, and this node process can be saved inside the init function. So we can say this dot node process. So after starting the process, it will return the child process, and that will be saved in the class variable, which is this node process. So next, after this node process has started, we will set this dot process exited to false, because currently the process has not existed and it has just only started. And the next thing, we'll pipe the process standard input, which is process.standard input, and we will pipe it to the child process. So we'll do dot pipe node process dot standard input. That is whatever we'll be getting in the input for our main process, that we can pipe to the child process. That is, if you type anything in the console, that will be passed on to the application that you are running using dnode. The next thing is we will listen on the close and the error events. So we can say node process dot on, and if there is some error, so we'll get this error, and we can set this dot process exited to true, because now the process is exited and now we can print something. So for easier debugging, we'll create a function called print, which will accept two arguments. The first is a type and the second is the message. So the type, it can be any, which means it will inherit all the types that we have for console, that is console.memory, assert, console.count, anything. So we can say key of console, and the message, that is a string. So we can just pass that, and we will prefix it with denote, so that we know that it has came from the main process and not from the child process. And then we can print. So we can say this dot print, and we'll do console.log only here, and we can say failed to start process, and then we can define what process we were trying to start. So we can say process dot argument vector and 2, which will contain the file name that we were trying to start. Then the next, we'll listen on the close event. So we'll say node process dot on, and then we will have two types of event that we are interested in. The first is the close and second is the exit. So let's try both of them and see what's the difference. So first is the close, and here what we'll do is we'll just simply console.log that the child process has closed, and we'll just copy this, but next we'll listen on exit. So now it will be child process has exited, and in both of this we want to set our this dot process exited to true, because now the process is exited, and the same for this one. Now we'll save this. So for testing, we'll try to run this CLI app using our app using dnode. So we can say dnode cli.js. So it will ask what is our name, and you can see that whatever we are passing the input, it is getting to our main child process, and then it will return his Bhumij. That is what our code is, that is his and then Bhumij. And then we can see that the first child process is exiting and then it is closing. So what's the difference? So the difference is in exit, the child process actually exists, but the standard input output that it was using has not been closed, or that streams has not been closed. But in close, that streams that it is using, that is these streams, those also have been closed. So this really means that the process has exited and it has also cleaned up the streams that it was using. So it's beneficial to use or listen to the close events rather than the exit events. So I'll just remove this part of the code and we'll be using close events only. And on close, we want to also check some other thing. And the first one is that whenever we are closing, first we want to unpipe our standard input. So we'll say process dot standard input dot unpipe, because now the process has exited and it cannot pipe to nowhere and it will throw an error. So before that, we'll unpipe it and we'll say process dot standard input. And next, so every stream has two states. So first is the flowing state and then the second has the pause state. So whenever you unpipe, the standard input again goes back to the pause state, but we don't want that. We want it to be in the flowing state so that we can listen to it. So we'll say process dot standard input dot resume. So it will again come again in the flowing state and we can listen on whatever the data it is sending. So the next thing what we want is, we want that whenever it is closing, we also want to print why it is closed. So we can say this dot print and then we'll do a console.log. So we'll pass the log method and we'll say the process, and then we specify the process, that is process.argument vector, and the second, because it contains the file name, and then we'll specify that it has exited with. So now in the close events we get two things. The first is a code and the second is the signal. So what caused this child process to close? So if there is any code, so we can say it exited with some code. So otherwise we'll say that it has exited with a signal. So we can say that it has exited with a signal and we'll specify what signal it was. So we'll say signal. So now what else we can do is that instead of listening on this close only, what we can do, that we also have something called as process dot standard input dot on close, which means whenever this IO stream will close, this method will be triggered. So we can move all the logic for handling IO inside of this. So we can just copy these two lines and we can paste it inside of this. So now let's try to run our dnode process again with the CLI. So here, if I run this again, dnode CLI.js, we can say that it will again ask for our name, and then we can see that on exit it has returned that process CLI exited with signal null, which means there has been no forceful termination. The process has terminated successfully. So that's why there is neither any code or nor any signal, which you can see here. So the part which was triggered is this one, that when the child process closed, because it has done everything, and since there was neither a code nor a signal, it returned just a signal null, which means that the process has exited successfully and there was no error or there was no force closing of it. So now let's recap what we have learned so far in the video. So firstly, we learned what are the Node.js streams, what are the different kind of streams, and why do we use them. Secondly, we learned about child processes, how to spawn one, and how to relate its standard input output with the main process's standard input output. And thirdly, we learned how to create a binary out of your node file and how to create that bin field inside the package.json. And to test it, how do we link it to the global folder using npm link. And we also learned what all things do we get in the argument vector and how to pass the arguments. So what's next? So in the next part of the video, we will learn how to listen for file changes and restart the process. So the link for part 2 will be in the description or in the end screen. So if you have been liking the content so far and loving the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. According to YouTube, over 90% of the people who are watching my videos are not subscribed. So hit that subscribe button, it would be really helpful for the channel. Until then, peace out.